All right, welcome to another episode of Math on the Rocks. Just as an always, we got to always remember to remind people to subscribe either on, let's see, Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We've got video versions, we've got audio versions. But we're doing a special introduction. Why are we doing a special introduction, Cole?
Oh, I was just going to say, be careful there, Duane. People are going to start thinking we're official with all those titles you're throwing out there. But no, this is kind of like the pre-cap recording for our CMC Math on the Rocks Live that we just did at CMC-South a few weeks ago. So super excited.
Yeah, and so, people need to know that what you're going to hear is our first try at trying to be professional on the road. And true to form, it was a little rocky, but we had a blast. So welcome to this episode of one of our guests from CMC South. All right, welcome to another episode of Math on the Rocks. This time is a special episode. We are live at Palm Springs. And Cole?
Yeah, we're here recording live. And so those of you that are still hanging out in the exhibitor space, feel free to come join us over here for a little bit as we are joined by Fawn today.
But before you go to Fawn, who are you?
Oh, I guess that's important too.
I know.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Cole Sampson. I am the president-elect of CMC Central, and I work at the Kern County Office of Education.
And I am Duane Habecker. I am CMC Central president. And then my day job is Merced County Office of Education. All right, so Cole, why are we here?
So we are here today to talk to Fawn Nguyen. Yes, yes, and we are going to be talking about engaging all learners in math class, and we'll spin off of that a little bit too as we go. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Well, thank you for joining us.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I had to do some arm twisting. I'm just kidding. No, Fawn was very gracious. She's like, yes, we'll be there. Anything you need.
I say yes to everything until the week before. What have I done?
Yeah. So we're very grateful for you to be here. Can we just start off a little bit like, who are you? What do you do? Just for our audience.
Okay. Well, I currently, it's 2 years in with Amplify Education, and I am the director of STEM initiatives, and I love my job. I'm very lucky. I get to talk to teachers and educators and leaders across the nation about teaching and learning. And I actually really blessed also that I still have access to classrooms. I was just teaching to 2 classes this past Tuesday. Yeah. So, and yeah, I get to work really caring and passionate people about, what we put in front of students. And yeah, so working hard to learn and improve every day.
Very good. And what about before your role at Amplify? What made you famous, Fawn? Why do we all know you? Yeah.
Thank you for not saying infamous. I was a classroom teacher for 30 years. And I'm super proud of that. I really am, because I don't know how I did it, because it's so hard. It still is. So I get to do that for 30 years. And then I did 3 years as a math coach for a K-8 school district. And then with Amplify. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
So you are the audience. So the reason Cole and I are doing the podcast in the first place is one of the problems with conferences is they end. And oftentimes the relationships we have during these conferences end until next time. It's like we had a great time, we talked about math, we reduced some fractions, we had a beer. I'll see you next November. And so one of the things that Cole and I wanted to do as running the CMC Central Symposium, which is March, when?
7th and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th?
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. So don't come on the 6th. Come on the 7th. As we're running the symposium, we decided we were tired of being part of that system that was really just, let's have a conference for about 36 wonderful hours, and then it's done. It ends abruptly. The conversations, the community ends abruptly. So we didn't want to do that. So we started the podcast. So this is an ongoing attempt to continue the relationship, to continue the conversations that happen at the conference. Then the second problem that we're trying to solve here, and this is where I need audience participation, is Fawn is wonderful, and we love her, and we know her, and we've come here, and that's the problem. Fawn is here preaching to the choir. And the people who need to hear Fawn's message are not here. Probably because they don't feel like coming to a conference like this they're going to be welcomed. They probably feel like they have to have a certain set of beliefs before they're allowed to enter the gates of CMC South. We have to embrace some certain things before we're welcomed here as a community. There's a whole host of reasons. So here's your job. What we're going to ask you to do is we're going to ask you to be the role, as you're listening to Fawn's conversation with Cole, we're going to ask you to take on the role of being a skeptic. And this is why Peg is perfectly suited for this. I'm like, how you doing, Peg? And she goes, are you sure? You really? And so, and the purpose of you taking on this role of being a skeptic is, first, you're developing empathy for those skeptical people that we might be working with. You may be in a classroom where next door, the teacher next door is skeptical of you, your beliefs, the framework, and our job is to learn how to talk to them. And so Fawn is going to give us words to use, to practice on on talking to those skeptics. I know. So you're going to take on the role of asking the kinds of skeptical
you gotta
questions.
Sit down,
Oh no, we sort of warned you in an email.
I feel very outnumbered right now. So I don't know. I don't recall signing up for this. I thought everyone would agree with me. So.
Well, I would say this is a safe environment, except Peg's here, so I'm not entirely sure. So that's going to be your job, is listening with a skeptical ear, so that you can then ask the kinds of skeptical questions your neighbors might ask, so that you can hear the kinds of answers we might want to think about giving to our skeptical colleagues. You all with me on that? You understand your job? Poor Nathan, who was the first person here, he didn't know this was going to happen.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay, all right. Good.
We love it.
Take it away, Cole.
So, and just so you know, Fawn, we ran into some CMC Central attendees out there, and there might be some like secret wagers happening about how many bombs get dropped in this conversation, just so you know. So we have an over-under happening right now, so we're ready for it.
So rude.
Oh, no, so good, but no, thank you. So let's just kind of jump right in, and thinking about engaging classrooms, all learners. What does, in your perfect world, what does that look like? How do you know you walk into a classroom and all kids are engaged? What does that mean?
Well, I'm hoping that engagement, first of all, we have to define engagement, so maybe we'll do that later. What is engagement? But my kind of engagement is hopefully kids are doing and thinking and talking about mathematics, and they do that in all formats of the classroom, right? We have structures and routines, whether that is, it can be quiet think time. There's some quiet think time that I appreciate so much, so they're thinking, and we don't know what they're thinking, but hopefully it's about the math, but there's some quiet time, and then with maybe a shoulder partner. So in that structure, back and forth conversation, and then that opens up to a small group. Either that the whiteboards that a lot of classrooms are doing, or just at the table. So that circle of interaction is getting bigger, right? You've got individually, neighbor, and then small group, and then whole class, or just a larger group. And so in all of those formats, hopefully we also do some journaling. I really believe that after all of that talking and buzzing, that students have some quiet time to go ahead and capture and reflect by writing down what they did and just a reflection. So all of that can be engagement.
And, a lot of maybe current materials that are out there may not encourage that necessarily, right? The more of a traditional mindset. How do we help kind of nudge teachers in that direction?
So for any kind of engagement, I believe in that problem-based, that task that is inviting, and that it's worthy of the student's attention. And I want to say it's worthy because we all, things interest us and things don't interest us. And so it's very, very difficult to find one task where there's buy-in of all the students. And that's where I genuinely try to bring in something that genuinely interests me, because I'm hoping that's contagious and it's true. So so it starts with a task. It starts with a task, and then from there on, it's about scaffolding and nudging the students along. The spectrum of engagement could be, I'm not doing anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't understand this. So how do we prepare for that, right? And so I call those the prompting questions. Kids who, have not stepped into the problem, how do we get them going? So that's part of the preparation. And then once they get going, there's all those questions in between. And then I call those extending questions. You prompt the kids to get going, and then you keep them going. And I believe in the 5 practices. I mean, that's kind of my structure. I really believe and use it for a long, long time now, because it's practical. The 5 practices are practical, and it helps kind of, navigate all those spaces about student thinking and when to jump in. Because if I can define what teaching is, it would be teaching is knowing the right questions to ask at the right time. Knowing the right time to kind of comedic timing. That's so important in comedy. I think that's with teaching, is that you time it just right and you're coming at them with questions.
And so on the teacher side, right, a lot of us were maybe not trained that way or haven't experienced class that way, and we're kind of stuck a little bit in our belief about what it can look like, right? So whenever you engage with teachers, what is maybe that first step that you take to help the teacher start to see themselves in this role more as like the facilitator type place?
Thank you. Yeah, it's so hard if we don't experience it ourselves. And this brings me back to Duane. Back in the summer, you tweeted something that I jumped all over. I was like, I'm so grateful for you to saying it, because until we experience it, it's hard. If we can just read books and listen to a person talking about it, I think we have moved a lot farther than we have so far. It's just, I think it's been slow to progress, just because you're talking about facilitating to 30 students, a different human being. And unless we experience it ourselves, the mathematics, the struggle, right? We ask students to struggle, productive struggle, do this, do that, take risk. When was the last time teachers get to do that themselves? Authentically. And I remember you mentioned, because when we go to PD, we would be engaged in the task that we're going to teach, whether it's 6th grade math, high school math, whatever. We are supposed to be the content experts. So I'm not going to struggle with a middle school PD, because I know how to do this. I'm picking up some strategies, maybe the PD in particular, how it's laid out. But in terms of struggling, right, grappling at this task that we ask children every single day, every single minute to do, and we want to motivate that. I just don't know how we do that without experience or remind ourselves what it's like. So I try to give PDs where, I'm kind of, I love the problem solving for us, because we owe it to ourselves and to put ourselves in that space. And I'm looking at my biggest critic, Peg, right here, who's not even paying attention right now. I'm calling you out. So Peg, I see, you're right. So Peg was at Math Teacher Circle. That's something that I seeked out, Math Teacher Circle, because there wasn't one in our area. Very proud to say that I was able to convince 4 other people to join me, and we opened up a Math Teacher Circle where once a month during the school year, we teachers came for 3 hours, once a month, to work on math problems. So that I can go on Monday, I can go back to the classroom and say, I worked on 2 problems all night long, all evening. I got to eat, we serve really good food. We had a great facilitator, and Peg has been a facilitator and a participant at our circle. And it's amazing, just mathematicians. We had high school teachers there, middle school teachers there, and we have mathematicians, the college professors. And it's like, it's kicking my butt, right? I'm just having, but I enjoy it, right? I appreciate it. I'm soaking it in. I'm copying I'm looking over my shoulder. I get to talk. I'm experiencing what I'm asking my students. So that was the 180 for me, is grappling with tasks myself. So ever since, It did a 180, like I said, in terms of my teaching. I'm asking you to do this because I continue to seek out spaces where I'm doing what I'm asking of you. And with so much joy, And yeah.
And I think that you're hitting something really important there, is that you're also giving teachers a space to take risk themselves. And so then hopefully that they are more likely then to allow their students to have those kind of risk-free opportunities to engage and think. And obviously getting answers at some point is important, but it's the in-between that...
Right, yeah. I know we ask them to participate, take risk, right? And we expect mistakes and we respect those mistakes, but traditionally, I mean, why would anyone hate math, right? That's, and yet it's so common, which is mind-blowing. And I always say when a kid says, anybody who says, I don't like math, I'm not a math person, I'm thinking math didn't do anything to you. Math didn't, right? Math is beautiful, it's joyful. So there's a disconnect between math and school math. Or there's a disconnect between learning and school. Children are supposed to come to school to learn mathematics or learn the subjects. And how is it that they leave our classroom saying, ew, I don't like that. Okay, so there was some shame involved. There's just some traumatic stuff happening. And so that makes me very sad, right? So we want to be able to change that. And to a point where I would tell my students that hopefully by summer, by the end of the school year, there's my one wish for you, to leave this class not hating math. That's it. I mean, it's gotten to a point where I hope you don't hate this. Something that I love so much, right?
Indeed. So this is the time. You've been listening to everything Fawn's been saying, and your task was to be listening with a skeptical ear. And I want you to think about the teacher you work next door who is skeptical, not sure they like the framework, not sure they like using manipulatives, too noisy, too messy, not sure they like group work, too loud. And I want you to put yourself in their shoes and ask Fawn the kinds of questions skeptics would ask so that we are equipped with the Fawn-approved response to our skeptics. All right? So do we have any...
30 seconds.
Whoa, there was no thinking. It's
I
like,
don't want to steal it.
there you go.
Hi, so my question is around the students. So as a teacher, maybe I am ready to make the moves and make the shifts, but my students are not used to learning in this environment, in this space where they are given permission to think, to fail, to not know what to do. Like how do we make that shift with them? Like how do I give them that opportunity?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. It takes baby steps. We always talk about baby steps. And there's something, if I could go into districts, my one recommendation, actually I have 3 recommendations for districts to begin immediately, if not already. 1 is number talks, 2 is number talks, 3 is number talks. It's just, number talks is the easiest entry in terms of having kids engage in mathematics on a daily basis. Right? So if we can start there and have it school-wide. So when it's anything that's school-wide is pretty powerful. It sends a message that this is important enough for us to continue. So, so when you say kids are hesitant, I'm hoping I can use my own experience because it's real. And I said, I was very, very shy. I'm an English learner. I feel like I'm still an English learner. I don't think I spoke until 10 years in, because it's very difficult to speak a different language and to process. So I understand not wanting to speak up. I mean, I think my classmates thought I was mute even within a staff meeting, I just didn't speak up. It's ironic what I'm doing now because that's so ironic to me. So I understand where they're coming from, and I'm hoping, so I share that experience. I said, and kids will say, well, I don't know. I would call on them. They say, well, I don't know. My first response immediately is, that's okay. That's okay. And, and then I don't let them go, though. I don't move on to another student. I do ask them, for an estimation for something, if you had paper and pencil, what would you do? It's just little scaffolds. And of course, end with, thank you. Thank you for just contributing, just giving us anything, because it's important that we hear from you, right? And I say things like, the people who are talking are the ones learning, right? And that we're a family. So all of that, I talk about all this engagement, the task and all that, none of that happens if we don't have the culture of being supportive, of feeling safe. Because unfortunately, they came from, wherever they came from, math is right or wrong. It's like, that binary is so strong. And we need to know. There's all that room in between. Because I love the fact that, and they know this too, and I think they've used it because they know I love wrong answers, and I just don't say that. Because why? When we get the right answer from students, we tend to move on to the next thing. We just move on, okay, they got it, we move on. But if we get a incorrect answer to that, it's like this beautiful space just opens up, and we get to have a conversation, we get to discuss, and there's some truth, there's truth about that incorrect answer is an answer to whatever they were thinking. Right, opens that up. So just a lot of conversations like that. Hopefully now they feel safer, and they say, oh, okay, she does mean it when she wants to hear from me. And respect is everything, that we don't, that everybody's voices need to be heard. And I'm pretty much right on that to make sure that it's, I will call it out. I will call it out if I see any kind of disrespect. It just, there's not a bone in me that can
All right,
stand
we
it.
got 2 more skeptics here. This is pretty awesome.
Where do you come from? Jeez. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You touched on the topic of the students feeling safe. Do you have any tips? I teach alternative ed, so juniors and seniors that have been beaten down, showing up to school, like for that student that walks into the classroom and wants to put their head down. I worked all night. How is this going to apply to my real life? But I've got that problem that's like real life and I'm excited about it, but for that student that instantly wants to go phone, head down, really feel safe, do you have any suggestions without putting them on the spot and creating that?
Well, I'm hoping, again, that situation is so important, though, for that student to be there. So I want to meet the student where they are in terms of not dismissing how they're feeling. I have no idea what happened the night before, right? We have no idea. What if something traumatic did happen? God forbid we move on to the lesson. So just be respectful. And I would ask the student, what I cannot allow is for them actually to put their head down because of safety. So that's something, I said, if you feel that I need to, you go to the nurse. So there's that. I want to make sure. And just, can I come back 5 minutes? Do you need some more time? So just attend to that situation to begin with. And then hopefully the relationship is beyond the classroom, is that you know the student enough that you know they have a game, that you can attend the game, whatever the family situation is. So it's, and I think of the high school students that I had before where that happens, and but I want to just stay within that situation, and then hopefully, as we get going on a task, that they see other kids engaged, and I said, well, that doesn't look so bad, and none of you had mentioned it, and so I'll mention it myself because my topic is getting all students engaged. That almost sounds like a lie because it's very difficult, right, to guarantee 100%. But that doesn't stop me from, maybe I've never attained 100%, but that should not stop me from that being my goal, because my goal should always be all students, all engagement. Maybe I hit 80% today, but I have a chance tomorrow. Right? And students have a chance tomorrow, so that, so hopefully the percent, 10, 20% I didn't catch yesterday or today, tomorrow I get another chance to serve them, right? And say that. There's nothing I don't live in this cloud of mystery, I wonder, I just simply ask. I simply ask the students, what would help for you to get engaged? Do you want me to go away for 5 minutes? I will. And just hopefully other students also kind of have that empathy and that sympathy to guide them. Because I've got all these kids, right? So when we pair students up, maybe somebody else in the classroom can reach out because it'd be really silly for me to think that I can reach them all, but maybe a classmate, an understanding classmate. And there are baby steps.
Thank you. We have Nathan is going to be a skeptic.
Yes, for me, math is lonely. And why I say lonely, not in not being able to engage students with talking with each other, but then I go home, I have to do it on my own. My parents don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm now in 10th grade and I don't have the basics, so that's nice that you maybe make it safe, but you probably, I'm not saying you personally, but the system probably doesn't make it safe, because guess what? There is a math test. I'm failing math. I go home and I guess ChatGPT or something can show me the steps, but even getting the answers so that I can turn in my homework doesn't help me on the test, nor do I understand it. And it's a really lonely place to feel so frustrated, even if you want to get it, but you don't. And then someone does do a great job, even let's say you're a great teacher and you'll keep me after school and explain it to me, and I kind of get it better and I appreciate your time, but I really still don't get it. And then it's lost, and my parents can't help me. And I teach elementary school, so that could be even in the Common Core with, they call it Big 7 or the non-standard algorithm for division or whatever. But for me personally, when I got to high school math, it was over. Because I liked math in elementary because it was fun and I could do it, but then once I got behind, there's no one there to help, including the teacher, even if they were a great teacher.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. And my answer to that is I don't have the answer, because the way education is very much top down, and it's quite opposite of what we're trying to. It should be children first. And we say that, children first, and yet our mandates and the testing, right? Because you mentioned, why do we do homework? Why do we assign anything? Because we need to do well on the next test. So our test is to blame. Our test is to blame, this whole system. Our tests don't even test what it is that we want children to learn. So, yeah, and that takes a whole nother conversation. That takes, we are testing. Our school is for the average student, right? Anytime we have data, it's to the average student, right? We scale everything. Who does not exist? I don't know who the average student is. We have all these children, brilliant in their own ways. And here's the test that spits out these scores, and put categories kids in these different labels. And so, yeah, it's definitely, I don't have the answer just because it's so top down. But that's why my goal is not to have them hate math. And you mentioned being alone at home, and that's why I'm against homework at all levels. I'm just against homework because exactly what you're saying. I do not know the home situation, and we cannot, we have school, children have come to school. This is the time for school, and I want them to go home and play. I want them to go home and play. I want them home help with chores. I want them home just relax, listen to music. I want them to go outside. All of these things as a human that we need. And so, what are we doing to our kids with all this homework, especially high school? And so, again, it's not, I spoke my piece, but I'm not in the classroom. Yeah, so, right, we're in conflict with each other. And
well, can you believe it's already been 30 minutes? You're like, so hopefully that was like a quick 30, and you're like, whew.
Oh boy, she's quick to close her computer.
I know,
she's like, I'm trying to get out of here.
Get out of here. Well,
I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that you were kind and no heckling. Thank you. Looking at you, Peg. So, yeah. Oh my God, how are you, my queen? How are you?
well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining us.
much
It was
for
a great
having me.
Would you all
conversation.
join me in thanking
Thank you.
Fawn? All right. Thank you.